Hi, I'm Gordy Gundaker. Welcome to the Dirt Parlor Podcast.
Hi, I'm Don Martin. Welcome to the Dirt Parlor. And this thing is big.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this week's episode of the Dirt Parlor. I'm here with my esteemed co-host, Mr. Don Martin. We want to thank our sponsors, Steve Martin with Nutrient Ag, Jeff Hoker. Happy birthday to Jeff Hoker today,
Yes.
actually.
Yes.
With Hoker Trucking, Bodies by Skinny, Checker Customs, Screen Printing and Embroidery, and Reed Millard with Millard Family Chapels.
Well, this week we're going to start by kicking out the podcast, talk a little bit about Pennsylvania Speed Week. Just kind of finished up. It's always a big day, 10 days. They had some rain and back-to-back winner Anthony Macri.
Yeah, and some controversy.
Yes.
And it was a good week of racing. It's a lot of fun to see all the Speed Week style stuff. For the PA area, obviously they always have such a great showing, and it was cool to see Larson go out there and be part of it. I don't think he had very much fun at Lincoln. He was
a little pissy.
Yeah, he was
had every right, actually.
Yeah, I would say so. And then obviously Port Royal, just kind of doing Port Royal things, and kind of crazy to see Larson spin out like that and get back through the field, but just you don't ever see that.
How many people you think, when he spun out that were Larsonites, turned it off?
I had to have.
Said, that's enough.
Yeah.
And then we all know that if it wasn't for the fuel issue,
he wins the race.
He wins the race.
Yeah, Macri had no idea he was there, and Kyle drives right on by, and then a yellow comes out, and then we have an open red, where we can work on race cars and change tires in a 30-lap race.
We talked about that.
It's been a hot topic, I feel like, now for at least over a year. But you see these races that are 25 and 30 laps, and we have to have an open red stop and then allow these guys to work on their race cars. I just think it ruins the racing, for one, I think from a spectator's standpoint. But two, it's just I feel like once you go on the racetrack, that should be it. Like I'm not in agreement with having fuel stops, and I understand that the way the tanks are made right now, that they can't run these super long races, but we can't even go 30 laps at a half mile without having to have a fuel stop, and it just, I think it dampens the show for one, but it the idea is when you roll on the racetrack that what you and your crew chief and your team decide before you go out there should be what you have, not that you're able to stop. And I thought I give Macri's guys kudos for taking the grinder out there, doing some late model work in a red flag situation. But I don't know. I hope that they find a way to do away with that or something. I think the longer races are better for sprint car racing. I mean, I know that it's a lot faster paced than the late model stuff, and but man, those longer races seem to be better because guys are able to move around and the racetrack changes and things happen. The other night we were robbed of a great race with Macri and Larson because of fuel issues. So that part definitely sucks about it. But obviously I know on X the other night there was a lot of guys going back and forth about good, bad, what it could be. I know Dietrich really had an opinion on how much he thought it would cost teams, and but I think the number I saw was it was $4,000, for the bigger fuel cells. And one of the issues, I guess, that he also made a point was that, that they don't have those in stock and it would be harder to build them. But it's like, let's start building them now for next year.
Good point.
I think if there was a demand for them, they'd absolutely build them.
And we talked about that, the fact that and you brought it up actually in one of our first shows, the fact that, rules should be talked about before the season started. We should be making rule changes midway through.
Right.
The tire rule was a perfect example. I remember when you and Jason spoke about that. It's like, let's come up with it now.
Right.
What about the beginning? But in Brent Marks, of all people, he was very, adamant about coming out and saying the bigger fuel cell needs to be mandated.
Yeah.
Because it'd be better for racing. Like you just said, we don't need to be stopping some of these 30-lap races.
No. I mean, obviously Knoxville's the anomaly. We know they're getting a red flag stop at halfway, but they run 50 laps. So it's worth it. Like, to me, that's okay. But when we're running 30-lap features and we have to stop and let all the crews on the racetrack and take 15 minutes to do all this, I just, I don't like part of that. But if they're going to do it, they should start working on it now. I mean, let's get suppliers time to build tanks and get, the series to maybe get on board and figure out what they want to do and figure out the best way to tether them, to make them safe. And, if they start working on that now and implement a rule for 2026, the teams are going to be happy because they're going to have time to adjust for it. Don't get me wrong, but yes, $4,000 is a lot of money, but I think all those guys that if they want to go race, I think they can afford it. Sure it is a cost, but for the fans who are sitting at home and have to sit through these red flags and look how many guys it hurt. What it cost Pittman a win earlier this year at Las Vegas.
That's right.
It puts guys in a bad spot that really probably had a good enough car to run in the top 5, top 10, and said they're running out of fuel, and then they're the yellow that causes the red flag stop, and now they're penalized.
I was just going to say, like Danny, he's the first one to be the victim, and then all of a sudden they don't want another one. They see Anthony starting to stumble. Oh, let's throw the red.
Right.
And it looks a little. We both know it's not probably favoritism, but sometimes you could see where it looks like.
It absolutely. I mean, and of course it's going to look like it. I mean, it's a PA Speed Week race, and everybody, there's already enough drama there with the PA guys in their own right. But then you throw a guy like Larson into the mix, and next thing you know, we get a red flag stop before Macri, has an issue. It looks. I'm not saying that's what happened.
It just looks bad.
But it definitely has that feel to it. So. Yeah, it was. But besides that, I mean, the racing was great as always. I feel like the entire week it was cool to see a lot of different guys mixing it up. Up front. I mean, obviously Macri,
Lance.
Yeah.
I mean, the old man came to play.
It's like when you turn the big money on up there for him. He knows when to make it happen, and heck, that's why anytime I feel like we have PA races, I'm usually picking Lance Deweese for good reason.
It was great. Well, then let's talk a little bit about Deer Creek.
Yeah.
Those guys go all the way up there to get a couple of 10s, supposed to have a 50, and then the Outlaws announced that they're not going to reschedule the 50. And I wanted to talk to you about that because it's a long way to go up there, and guys are going up there. You're looking for the 2 10s and a 50. As a racer, that's got to be very deflating.
Well, that's the big money night, right? That's really why you go. You go in there to lock in and get, probably $2,500, $3,000 to start on Saturday. That so that's a big deal about going up there, is that you're like, okay, we can make some money this weekend and go home with $6,000, $10,000, $12,000 in our pocket if we have good nights on our prelim nights. So yeah, it's definitely deflating for those guys. I commend the Outlaws though for at the same time going, okay, hey, we don't stand a chance of getting this in. Let's not drag you guys out all night, or put you in a spot where if they do get it in, the racetrack has got a lot of moisture in it, it's wet and rough. The teams don't want that either. So it's always a bad spot when you get put in that, but it definitely sucks, to have the big money night rained out.
And last, before we get our guest on, I wanted to bring up a little bit too the fact that we've been talking a lot about Rocket this year.
Yeah.
And man, Sheppy put it together last week. Mark and Sheppy, got her going both nights.
Yeah.
Naturally they went at Atomic, and then they come back at Muskie, and another strong finish. And I know you and Brandon are very close, and you were probably as happy as anybody to see that thing.
Yeah, man, it's always good to see those guys succeed. Don't get me wrong, we need multiple manufacturers in dirt late model racing. We don't want to get to a point where it's all Longhorn or it's all whatever it is. These things come in cycles, for sure. We've seen it. Rocket dominates for 4 or 5 years, and then Longhorn popped up, and they've been dominating. But you look at Turbo on the Summer Nationals; he's been really, really good. And we knew it was a matter of time before Mark and them figured it out, and got something going the right direction. I felt like over the last month, they've definitely been better. I don't know if maybe they're letting Brandon give some more input. The B5 is always pretty sporty, and I think they do different things when Brandon's racing for Mark. So yeah, it was good to see. Obviously, I felt like Atomic was probably more their style racetrack there. You know, it definitely was a little choppy, and the rocket cars always seemed to be better there, but then they unloaded at Muskingum the next night, and they were right up front battling the whole time. So I would say, you know, you're not going to keep those guys down no matter what you do, and clearly they're gaining some momentum, and that's kind of bad news for a lot of us, because you go into a weekend like we have coming up at Burlington. Sheppy's always been pretty good there. Wheatland, you know, I know the Rocket team has never really done great at Wheatland. You know, I don't think they have a Show Me 100 win. No. But then you go into PDC and Cedar Lake, and you know, I expect the Rocket 1 car to be right up front.
And your buddy JD is going to be good this week.
Yeah.
He's ready. So I wanted to bring up a little bit about the Droop Roll.
Yeah.
That happened a little bit, and he was a victim.
Yeah, that's it's kind of a crazy deal. Obviously, I wasn't there, so I don't know anything more about the entire situation. But, you know, there was, which, don't get me wrong, Lucas did correct by what the rule was. The chain has to be tight. You know, there was a guy who got DQ'd. I want to say it was maybe Madden or somebody like that.
RTJ,
yeah.
Burn.
Well, but somebody got DQ'd
right.
with a loose chain.
Yep.
And that's just the rule, because it's, you know, it has to be hanging on the chain, and if it's not, so I don't, you know, like I said, without being there and knowing the situation, but definitely sucks for JD and them, because they had top two finishes on the weekend, and one of those gets erased now, and also too, it's a big money swing going from running second at $25,000 to running 25th. So I know that definitely sucks. But yeah, obviously, you know, feel bad for those guys, but that's one of the things we harp on with the sanctioning bodies. Like, if you're going to make a rule, you have to follow it. There's no gray area for whoever it is, and it didn't work out in JD's favor, but you know, obviously they'll be sporty this weekend.
Yeah, in a place that he loves.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
it's not fun for us knowing we got to run against Huddy, who dominated there, and JD. Obviously, you get RT and all those guys in the mix. It'll be a pretty good field of cars, you know, all 3 nights this upcoming weekend.
And we're going to go into our guests now tonight, folks. We have one of the most influential women in racing. Actually, shouldn't you say women? People.
Yes.
Kendra Jacobs is going to be joining us tonight. She's the marketing director of the High Limit Racing Series. I know Gordy and I both have a ton of respect for her. And we're really looking forward to talking about TV packages and kind of how she's got to where she is today. And
by being a badass.
Yeah,
she's
absolutely.
Awesome.
she's a badass. Yeah. Her old man was a badass.
Yes.
Still may be.
Yeah, yep.
So anyway, I'll let Gordy kind of take it over from here. And do you got a Kendra Jacobs story before we get going?
No, not really. I've got to speak on the phone with her, you know, quite a few times, and obviously you see her at the racetrack, but she's just go.
Yep.
It's funny watching her. It reminds me a lot of like my mom. They get along really, really well. Kendra just doesn't know how to stop, and clearly does a great job with anything that she's a part of. So super exciting to have her on here tonight.
All right. Well, we're going to get her on here in just a second. Everybody enjoy the show. Well, tonight we've got Kendra Jacobs joining the Dirt Parlor Podcast, and Kendra is the marketing director of the High Limit Racing Series. Gordy and I were just talking about it before you even came on, how excited we are to have you on.
Thanks.
We both have just so much respect for you and what you've done, and not just being where you are today, but how you got there. First of all, I was a big fan of your dad, so let's just get that right out of the question. I'm not trying to kiss your ass or anything, but I watched your dad race the Reno Brothers 4J, the maroon, little purplish with the orange 4J on it at Tri-City at All-Star Races, and I was at the historical big one for right when he won that $100,000, and then the rain came. So I've watched him in the House of Windsor 7TW. I've watched the used 94. Yeah. So your dad's a big fan. I'm a huge fan of your dad. So and that's
he's
actually
racing again.
Go ahead.
I said he's racing again now. So we all get to spend our weekends watching Dad race again, which is crazy.
No.
What, he watched Jack get in the car a few weeks ago and he got the itch?
No, so he owned a micro sprint for my nephew, and then my nephew went up to 410s. And when he was thinking about like well, I'm probably going to sell all the micro sprint. He just decided he would start racing it again. So now he races these little 270 micro sprints every weekend. It's funny, like this 70-year-old man, right? Like unloading this little micro sprint, and he's won 2 races already. So it's been really fun. I think he's a little obsessed with it, like he used to be when he like raced for a living. So yeah, it's funny to be watching the weather again on Saturdays and trying to follow on like my race pass of where dad's running when I'm on the road. Definitely not something I thought that I'd be doing.
Yeah, thought you were past that time.
Yeah, like he said, it's really important for him. His grandkids have never seen him race. So that makes sense. For him is really fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, that's kind of crazy. I feel like my dad was kind of the same way. Like if we had another race car for him, he would go do it just so he could race with me and Trevor, at least a couple times, or so that Eloise could watch him. So I feel like that's probably a big thing. It's got to be cool for the grandkids though, just to like be able to see all that.
Oh yeah, like one of them's his crew chief all the time, crew chief, and then the oldest grandson just graduated college, and he goes a lot with him, and it's just really fun. And then Mom and I sit up in the grandstands. We're like, what are we doing? Like, this is so funny. But it's good, and it's good to see him enjoying it. Like he's not like running for points. So it's, it's not like, it's not a career anymore. So he's just doing it for literally for fun. And I think like at some point, all drivers need to be reminded of why they do this, and like that they love the sport. They like legitimately love it. It's not just a job. And he gets to do that at the age of 70 to just love racing again.
Yeah. Well, and for you, that's truly why you have a career in it, right? It's just because you love it. I mean, you grew up in the thick of it, going to all the racetracks and doing all the stuff that the rest of us do, while going there. And now you play a major role in, a top series. I mean, how does all that come about?
Yeah. Really, like growing up, it's so funny. And when I look back, like I was the kid in our family that hated racing. Hated it, didn't want to go, didn't have any friends on the road, just wanted to be home. And now, like, obviously, I do it all the time. So I don't really know how that came about, like how the switch happened. But I remember distinctly, I went to the kart race in Cleveland when they used to have it. It was like the old airport in Cleveland. And I got some free tickets to go. So I took some friends of mine. I think I was junior or senior in high school. So we went up, and I was more interested in who the people were like in the paddock with headsets and golf carts. I'm like, what are those people doing? So that's the day I learned that there was like jobs in the sport that weren't driving or like crew mechanics. So I think that's the day that changed probably everything for me, is like, oh, I could actually do this forever. Like, I don't just have to be a racer's daughter to be on the road. Like, I could actually do this. So when I went to college, they're like, what do you want to do? And I said, I really just want to go to the races. That's all I know. Like, I don't have any other passions. I didn't have anything else in my life. That's really all I know. So I stupidly thought it would be easy because I know it. And now there's nothing about this sport that's easy, especially right now. So yeah, it really was just, what do I know? Where do I feel like my people are? And I think we feel that, like everybody in the sport feels like this sense of community and family. And I wanted that to continue. So that's really how it ended up. And my internship in college was with a series called the Gum Out Tour, which the World of Outlaws started, like a regional touring series. And so I did all the PR and some of the marketing for the Gum Out Tour when I was a senior in college. And then I moved to Charlotte and worked in NASCAR I just had this conversation on the airplane last night with another guy. And what did I say? 16 years I worked in NASCAR, I think it was. And then went to Knoxville. So, in the between there, like kind of the catalyst of making that change was Wing Nation on MRN. So kind of got back into sprint car racing through Wing Nation and Steve Post, whom I love dearly. And then the Wing Nation stuff just kind of morphed into this opportunity at Knoxville. And that then ended all of my NASCAR association. So that I feel blessed. When I first started, there just wasn't money in sprint car racing. Like you couldn't be a full-time PR. No one had PR back then. Right. That wasn't a job. So it was either IndyCar or NASCAR. And I remember I just interviewed with everybody I possibly could in Indianapolis and Charlotte, and luckily got a job. So, now we look at people who still want to say dirt racing is grassroots and it's this lower form of racing. And there's a lot of money in dirt racing. Like there are a lot of career options now. There's a lot of partners. There's a lot of career choices for people and for females, which I love to see. So I'm really glad that I'm still in this era of a career that I got to do it in sprint car racing.
Yeah. Well, and it's really cool to see, like you're talking about, is how much has developed in the last 10 years, on the sprint car side, the late model side, all of it, because of, the series, how big they've grown, how much more national it really is. I mean, it was big 20 years ago, don't get me wrong, but the streaming platforms and all the different attributes we have now have opened up so many jobs and so much more value to what the series are, and how you guys travel from February, March till November, and that people can go to these races and can work in these series, and it's not just like, oh hey, thanks for coming, here's a couple $100. Like, it's not that way anymore. We have to have all these people to get everybody up and down the road, to make sure ticket sales and marketing and all those things that come in along with the series. And it like you said, it's created so many different job opportunities for people who love the sport.
Yeah. And I think it's continuing to grow. I really feel like right now we're kind of in a golden age of the sport. With the two series, you have, 28 full-time sprint car drivers and teams. I mean, that's their career. And then you look at, there are guys who are still making it their career that aren't committed to one series or the other. So really there's probably 35 to maybe 40 full-time, like professional sprint car teams in the country. That would have been unheard of. Like no one would have thought that is remotely possible. And you look at the amount of six-figure to win races now in our sport, where, you mentioned when my dad won the big one in 1994, like that was a massive amount of money. And it was such a big deal when Earl did that. And now we have almost 10 of those in a year. The sport is just growing. And, I attribute a lot of that, or nearly all of that, to Tony Stewart, Casey Kane, Jeff Gordon, Kyle Larson. Those guys could have been doing anything with their careers when they had time off. And all of them said, like, I'm going to the dirt track, or I'm going back and racing sprint cars. And I think that takes this massive fan base that they reach. And these guys are like, oh, they're probably on an island somewhere enjoying a break. No, they chose a dirt track in Iowa. So that's going to pique interest, right? Like everyone's going to be like, well, it must be cool if they're using their one weekend off and going to this dirt track in Iowa. So I think that really just raised the interest level to a whole new audience for us. And that fan base might not be like the avid fan. They might not be tuning in every single night and digesting like every piece of media, but they are the people who turn it on and then talk to their buddy about it. So the trickle down effect, or really trickle up effect, is very much happening right now. I'm sure we're going to talk about it at some point, is the live on FS1 race coming up. That is a prime opportunity.
We're going to congratulate you on that, but you already beat us to it. So.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're so excited. And it's that kind of night that really, it's just an opportunity. That is an opportunity. I'm not going to sit here and say this is a game changer, because it might not be, but it's the opportunity to be one. And if we're all on our game, which everybody is so honed in on this, and everybody is so like, I can't tell you the amount of meetings and the minute by minute plans for this. If we execute and things go right, and by that I mostly mean Mother Nature, we have the opportunity to have a huge night for our sport, for everyone in our sport. And that's
right.
so important.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that we were talking about, the fact of how healthy sprint car racing is right now. And it's the 2 series. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's how lows or the high limit. What's good for the sport, sprint car racing, is giving opportunities to those 40 teams. And so because what it's done is it's made those teams that are mediocre in the past, given them an opportunity, because if there was only one series, that guy running 17th and 18th, he can never make the next step on his equipment to get there. Now he can, because it's just, to me, it blows me away. And just like next week, I mean, I'll be there, and I'm stoked. I've got, when you got $100,000 to win on Thursday and you come back on Saturday for $200,000 to win in sprint car racing, and then you get the atmosphere at Eldora, there's nothing like it.
Right.
And I'm hoping that you can bring that atmosphere of next week on FS1 into those houses.
Well, and that's where, people online are like, oh, so they're just doing this for everybody at home. And I think the people at the track are missing how important their role is to the success of this. Because what we're showing people is not just a race, it's an event. And we need to showcase that packed, sold out crowd and how much fun they're having. Because what's going to happen, and I truly believe this, when people see it online or people see it on FS1 and it's this awesome event and people are having a great time, they're not saying, I'm going to skip it next year and just stay home and watch it. More of them are saying, I'm going to that next year. I want to go to that event. And we've seen that with the Knoxville Nationals. The Knoxville Nationals are selling out and selling out earlier every year. Being live where you can sit at home and watch it is not hurting that event. It's helping that event. It's growing that event. So it's all in what you put into it. And you have to show that it's better to be there. I think too many times we just put on a race. And the truth is, like, yeah, if it's the exact same experience being home as being there, I might choose to sit on my couch, but you have to show why it's better to be there. And every track, every promoter, every series has things about them that make the live experience better. You just have to showcase that to the people sitting at home.
Yeah. Well, and obviously, you guys on the High Limit series, I feel like that's one of the things that you excel at compared to even any of the other series that we see, with the dice roll, with, the fan interaction that you see, the drivers being up in the crowd during the wheel spin, all of those things. Obviously we've got to see it firsthand at Tri-City, but that excites people and makes them want to be there, right? And now you're able to showcase this live on national television, and those things are what draw the crowds, right? That get the people off of the couch and say, okay, yeah, I got to go to this event. I know for me, I went to Knoxville for the first time for the entire week 3 years ago, and I vowed I will never miss another one. And I haven't missed one yet, and I won't miss one. And it doesn't bother me that I skipped the North-South 100. That's a late model race to go to it. It doesn't, and I thoroughly enjoy it. And I tell everybody, I do this, I do the Chili Bowl, I do, obviously the Dome, but I always tell people, I'm like, listen, yes, it is cool on TV. Don't get me wrong. But there is nothing like sitting in the grandstands on Saturday night for the 4 wide, during the A main time, or the lead up to the B main races that them guys are going absolutely balls out to try and make this race. Like, you can't get that feeling sitting at home. That rush is a completely different rush, and it's refreshing to see how you guys go about it because of this day and age, right? Of you only have so much to collect people's time and their energy anymore. It's not like it was 20 years ago. And so to get the fan to be excited to be there, and it's not a drag out deal, and excited about, hey, we want to go to the race. We want to go for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, is a big part of what these series have to do to keep people wanting to go sit in the grandstands and not just watch it at home on the streaming service.
And there's a lot, you nailed it. Like 20 years ago, we didn't have the obstacles we have today to get those fans. Now you're competing against, I think the biggest thing is there's so much entertainment options, right? Like even sitting at home watching Netflix, like there's so many entertainment options. The biggest one to me is youth sports are now 7 days a week. So parents aren't even getting to do what they want to do. They're at the soccer field, the baseball diamond, and they're doing it 7 days a week. So getting them to carve out that time to spend at the racetrack and hopefully bringing their kids, because we cannot forget how important that part is as well, to keep the kids coming. So that's an obstacle 20 years ago we didn't really have. The other thing is that it used to be, this is a race, drivers strap in, they're doing it to make money, the fans come, they watch, they go home. Now it's entertainment, and the drivers get that. The drivers know, like, yes, this is a living, but also I'm an entertainer and I need to fight for these people's money. Every meeting I have this year talks about the economy, tariffs, like I hear it all the time. To get somebody to spend their discretionary income with us is an honor. Like that's a privilege. Like we should be like honored that they're choosing to spend that money with us. So we have to remember, if they're spending, let's say they spend $40 to get in, and now they have to buy drinks and they have to buy concessions, they pay for their gas to get there, they took time out of their night. You're looking at probably at the end of it, $75 to $100. That's not nothing right now. Like that's somebody choosing to spend the money they're working hard to get with us. So I never ever want to take that for granted. And that's where the entertainment side comes into it. I don't ever want people to feel like, thanks for buying a ticket, go sit down, we'll see you later. We want them to feel a part of it and appreciated and engaged in what we're doing. And I hope that comes across on TV. But it really needs to come across at the track. And, one of my favorite things that we do that I remember when Brad first brought this up, I'm like, this is not like, I don't know how we're going to do this, is our, like what we call Fan Fest. So the drivers all go out to their merge trailers and in the midway for 20 minutes each race night. And they engage with the fans in their fire suits during the night. When that conversation started, it was, we're going to send all the fans into the pits and they're all going to go to the driver. And I'm like, how are we going to do this for 20 minutes and then get them all back out, and they all have to sign a waiver, and you have to make sure they're all out? It was just this huge daunting, like, it's a great idea, but how do we make it work? And I think that that's something I'm really proud of with High Limit, is just because an idea might not work out at first, like we keep morphing it until it works, or we try it and test different variations of it until we're like, that's it. That is what worked. And now how do we keep it going? So I love FanFest. And one of the great things about FanFest too, is if we do end late, which that's like a nightmare for us. Like we have this 9:30 to 10 o'clock, like we want to be done. But if for some reason we end late, all those kids got to meet their drivers. All those kids got to see a driver up close and personal. They got their shirt signed. They got a picture. And it doesn't have to be when they're tired or cranky at 10:30 at night to make that happen.
You just hit it right on the head.
Yeah, it's so important. When I would watch like at Knoxville when I was first there, like what are the things that like would get under your skin, right? And the worst was when there were nights when you would see parents leaving with their kid asleep on their shoulder before the A main even started. And it's like, oh, the kid missed the best part. Like, how do we make sure that doesn't happen? So it's just, our sport has a lot to keep. I hate the word massaging. I hate that word, but it's like we have a lot that we can still keep getting better at. But I think everyone in the sport should look around right now and say, look how good it is right now. There's so much negativity, and God, the internet, like I want to beat my head into a wall sometimes with the internet and social media. But really, if you look around, like there's racing almost every night, and there's double the amount of drivers to watch. And we're building double the amount of personalities and like driver brands. And there's like double the amount of racetracks now that people are getting familiar with and to go to, and double the amount of money. And I just said the other day, I was like, I just don't see the bad. Show me the bad, because I don't see where it's at.
Yeah. Well, and I think probably one of the, the biggest things, right, that the bad that gets talked about, right, is everybody's like, oh, the costs are rising, and it's, that's the talking point. And I think a lot of times those conversations get blown way out of proportion, and then it's like a game of telephone that, those numbers just keep inflating until maybe they're not even realistic. But then somebody goes on social media, and that's the good and bad part about social media, is that it can be so rewarding at times and be used for such a great platform. But there's a lot of times that people get on there and make posts that maybe they were better not making it all, and it would have been better off. And then you have to deal with that backlash. And that backlash is way worse than the good stuff that gets put on there, I feel like, most times. And so those, I feel like that's easily one of the hardest parts of navigating social media these days in general, for everybody, for the teams, the series. But I would completely agree that it's hard not to look at racing and say, yeah, we're not in a great spot. Like, we have to be in a great spot. We have guys who have purse earnings that are north of $500,000, and not just one of them. It's numerous, and on both sides, on the sprint car side, on the late model side. So that's not a bad thing. That can't be a bad thing. And we're getting, look at, Kubota, how much they have upped and done. There's a reason that they're wanting to be a part of this, right? They're on both the sprint car and the late model side. And like, big business doesn't get involved in something that they're not excited about. That's just, it doesn't work that way. So it's really neat to see. And like you were saying, I think one of the things that's so cool, we went to the NASCAR race yesterday in Chicago, and I took four guys who had never been. And obviously it's kind of fun for me. I go up there and we get to go hang out with some of the drivers, and, we go to the pit boxes, and they got to go meet, Stenhouse, and see some of these guys and have the up close, realization of how nice it is to go to some of these races. But I think one of the things that racers that we don't look at all the time is how much access fans truly have to us compared to any other sport across the board. Fans can literally buy a pit pass and walk right up to our trailer and be within 30 foot of us at any point in the night. And most likely they're going to talk to us. If they're brave enough to stand there and just say hi, I don't know really any drivers that shun these people away, right? Like, I feel like that's one of the cool things about all of the drivers that I know, is that we stand there and hang out with these people and get to know them. And it's one of the things that I think needs to be shown more, honestly, is how much access they have to us and how much we enjoy it. That part is I know I have plenty of people across the country that I go to that I know that when I'm in that area, they're going to come see me, or I know fans that do that with other drivers. And that's really where the passion for the sport comes from. And hopefully that just keeps being noted out there on all the streaming stuff, that, how much access they have to us to get their autograph, to get a picture, to get a hero card, whatever that may be. And it's cool to see that. I think all the cool media pieces that get put out there show that and continue to showcase it. But it's what we want to keep growing our sport the way it's going.
And first, let me say, I'm so glad you mentioned Ricky, because I left him out earlier. And like, that's another guy, like, he owns a team. Like, he doesn't have to do that, but he shows that's where his passion is, and that elevates the sport. And what you're saying about the drivers and the interaction, you meet fans who are now legitimately friends with their heroes. And I think like that's some of the coolest stories, where it's like, yeah, I was just a huge fan and I went to a bunch of races. Now we're buddies. And, social media is really fun, because I say that after I just said it's awful, but you do see some of the personalities of these guys. And I think, I'm going to beat this dead horse of Drive to Survive with F1. But F1, they did it so right for the American audience because Americans love an underdog story, and then we love a success story, and then we love when the success story becomes an underdog again and then is successful again. But to do that, you have to show the personalities. So Drive to Survive did not focus on the car. It did not focus on the on track. They focused on, we're going to show these guys brands and personalities. I knew nothing about F1. I love F1 now. I am that person that's like, yep, I watched Drive to Survive and now I love it. And everybody's duplicating that. And, hats off to Flo. And I love, they're just an amazing partner and I love working with them. They're so creative. But when they did Dirt accomplished what F1 and Drive to Survive. I mean, like obviously not at that level, but it did that for our drivers. And I have I read a lot of the mail that comes in for High Limit, and I have people say, I knew nothing about dirt racing until I watched Dirt. Like there's this guy that's texting or emailing me now that says, hey, I watched Dirt and I'm going to come to this track called Skagit that I heard about. Can you give me some information? I'm like, that is so cool. Like you just watched it on TV and you bought a plane ticket to Seattle and you're going to spend 4 days with us. That's the stuff it's so hard to break through the clutter because there's so much. But when you do, it's so good. It's doing amazing things, and not just for sprint car racing. Like I don't want to make this about sprint car racing. It's dirt late model racing, sprint car racing. I look at Cars Tour, which 5 years ago, did anybody in the dirt world know Cars Tour even existed? Like I'd never even heard of it. And I worked in NASCAR and never heard of Cars Tour. But like streaming and flow racing and reaching the level and the audiences that they are, it's really that old cliche of like a rising tide, like we're all benefiting from this. It is this golden age, and not just for sprint car racing, for all of motorsports. It's so good right now.
Yeah. We were lucky. We had, Aaron Reitzel came on the show right after he won the 100 grand, and Gordy and I didn't know Aaron that well. And I can tell you that when we had him on the show, he was excited. He loved being on the show as much as we loved to have him on. And I mean, to the point when I went to Knoxville for the Outlaw show back in June, he was like, make sure you come up, hang out, and I went there, and Gordy's in trouble on August because I think Aaron might hurt him a little bit.
I doubt it.
They're gonna have some fun, but that's where you just hit it, the personalities. You guys, and I'm going to tell you right now, you're blessed to have Aaron on the tour. I mean,
you
Aaron
lose a
might be the
Corey
biggest
Day, you
anomaly.
lose a little bit, and then you get a guy like Aaron. Yeah.
his personality is just, it's off the chart. I mean, and then I'm watching another guy who I really, and Tanner Thorson's coming on.
Yeah.
And it's exciting to watch Tanner Thorson come because this is a kid, he took some beatings last year. Comes on, goes right off wing race and goes on the toughest with the high limit series. And now you're watching him mature, and his father-in-law being Stevie Smith, who we all enjoyed watching race, and watching him now being involved. It's a great story.
And Tanner's one of those guys, like that's what we talk about we have so many more personalities we're building.
Yes.
And that when I joined High Limit, that was one of my like top 3 goals, is to help these guys show who they are and help them get sponsors too. Because it is those personalities that you connect with. No one says like, God, I just really like connect with that car. Cars are cool. Like, don't get me wrong. The cars are cool, but you connect with the person, and we've got to keep showing that side of them. Like you might be like, it's one of the reasons we do the playlist. There's nothing like getting in a car on a road trip and you're like, oh, I like this song too. Like this guy's taste in music is good. Yeah. It's not everyone always agrees with everyone's taste in music, and we hear about it, but it's one of those things. And that's why we do the hot seat question. We want the hot seat question to not necessarily be about racing. Like we want it to be something that shows like, if you were at dinner with this guy, what would you ask him? And it wouldn't just be all racing all the time. And we don't like talking about racing all the time. We want to talk about other things. So those personalities are so important to our sport. And I love the Aaron story because Aaron was like the villain of our sport. Aaron was the bad guy, and everybody was like, ugh, Aaron. And I still get asked by people, and if he watches this, he's probably gonna be like, seriously? I still get asked by people, how's it working with Aaron though? Like, how's Aaron? I'm like, he's great. He has been he's been awesome. And
Yes.
I am blessed. Like it sounds like I'm lying, but all 14 of our drivers are so good, and they're all friends, and they're just a fun group of guys that have bought into what we're doing. When I ask them, hey, can you do this appearance for us, or can you do this call? Yeah, if it helps us, let's do it. If it helps the sport, just tell me what to do. And that is another aspect. God, there's so much, like, it's just so much going on. But that is another aspect of our sport right now. The drivers are bought into growing the sport. It's not just, the owners of the series or the owners of the tracks. The onus is on them. Like I don't care. I get my paycheck and leave. The drivers need the sport to be successful and popular because that's more money to them. That t-shirt business is a big deal. That merch business, that is now. So they're like, oh, I got to sell more t-shirts. So I'm going to get on TikTok and I'm going to create my own brand. And that's, look, I love it. Keep doing it. Be silly. Like, show your personality. Like, that's what we need. And I wish more guys would do it. Like, Donnie was doing it for a little while. There was like a video of him dancing in a trailer like years ago. And I'm like, this is so cool. And then he stopped doing it. And I'm like, God, those are the personalities. Like, you see behind the curtain a little bit, and then that makes you go to the track. Then that makes you stand at the back of the trailer because you want to meet that guy. Now you're friends with that guy. And you're right, like, Gordy, that is what's so unique about our sport. You're not going to go to an NBA game and sit there and hang out with LeBron James. Like, that's not going to happen.
There is not one person that's ever going to crack a cold Busch Light with any NBA guy, maybe NHL guys. I give them that when they go out to the bars.
They got a shot.
But like any of those guys, you're not going to do that. And like you can literally go right up to the trailer, and if they're hanging out after, do that. I mean, I know. Now, granted, don't get me wrong, I have drank a lot of Busch Lights at a lot of racetracks across the country, so it's kind of a wavering deal. But I've met a lot of people because of that. Like, I had a group of 5 guys that came up at Wheatland when we were there in May for the Show Me, and they were like, "Oh, we watched you at the Dome, and we're huge fans." They've all bought merchandise. They ended up helping us load the race car actually at the end of the night.
So awesome,
And
they
then,
probably loved that.
Yeah,
Like, they
and
probably
then
told their buddies they loaded the car with you.
And so then they, they stayed after. I'm like, hey, you guys want to have a beer with me? And they're like, oh, that'd be awesome. And so they came Thursday night, Friday night, and Saturday night. They were there every night. Now I got their phone numbers. Like, they sent me a picture a couple weeks ago. They were somewhere, and they were all 4 wearing Gordy Gundaker t-shirts wherever they went. This was like middle of the afternoon on a Wednesday. And they're like, we're out here supporting.
Yeah,
See, we need more Gordies. We need more Gordies.
Hey, that's
cool.
one of the things.
I'm all about that stuff, but I think it's cool. I think you're going to see that keep transitioning, where you're going to get more of these guys who realize how big it is to be on social media, but also just to kind of be yourself around everybody and vocal that. I think like watching the dirt stuff, right? One of the things that's really cool, we were actually rewatching it the other day on Flow Live that just plays all the time, was getting to watch Justin Grant at the Chili Bowl when he thought he took the checkered, and he took the white, and he paused, and he goes in goes in the trailer, and he's going, fuck, and he's throwing stuff. And it's like, dude, that's awesome. It's probably
Not the greatest.
Yes, it's not the greatest look for him to be throwing them, getting mad and doing that, but it's like, dude, that's actually who we are. Like, we're so passionate. Like, that's how much it means to us. And you get to see these guys' faces, that who they are behind the helmet, right? You see us in race suits or in the racetrack, but like, they don't know what we look like. Like, now people do. You could walk through the grandstands with shorts and a t-shirt on, and people know who you are. They recognize you. They want to take a picture with you. They want you to sign something. 5 years ago, that didn't happen near as much. I know that. I mean, your upper level guys, sure, but now it's your guys who are traveling regionally that get noticed all over the place and maybe pop in to run 5 or 10, national touring races. They're being seen. And so everybody has an opportunity to kind of cash in on it in a sense of like, hey, you can grow your brand if you want to. Like, you have the opportunity to do it. I mean, watching Tanner Thorson, like we're just talking about, but one of the things I love, I've known Tanner a long time, and he is a fiery competitor. He's a hothead. Yep. He is, and I hated watching it, but when he spun out at Wheatland, that's awful. But they zoom the camera on him, and he's in there shaking his head, and he's pissed, and it's like, dude, that is Tanner. It's so him, but it's like, that's cool to see that, because people realize that, like, dude, he, for one, obviously he's a great race car driver, but it shows how passionate he is and like how he carries himself. Like, that is him 100% of the time. And to see that is really neat. And when we had Reitzel on here, hearing the story of Aaron talking about how he was pretty much done. He didn't want to race. Yep, he was to that point, and him kind of talking about that. We didn't talk about it when we had him on, but I had met Aaron like 5 years ago down at Volusia, and I'll be completely honest, I did not like him. I was like, I don't really like this guy. And it was just, we didn't meet and like hang out for 30 minutes. It was in passing, and I was like, I don't really know much about him. And then seeing his resurgence on the High Limit Tour and seeing the passion that he has, and then him getting out at Port Royal and doing all that, I was like, dude, I held a grudge on this guy, or an outlook on him, and I didn't know him yet. And so to then get to talk with them, it's like, man, these people have access to come and learn who we are, and it's really neat to see, how far it's grown just in a short time.
It's amazing.
And that is so important to see that passion. Like, when I remember when I worked at Knoxville, like, you're not supposed to want certain people to win, but in my brain, marketing, I'm like, ooh, who would sell the most tickets for next year? Like, who do I want to win that'll sell the most tickets for next year? And you wanted that guy that you thought would get out of the car and be like crying, right? Like, it would show how big this night is, like how important this event is. So like, you want that raw emotion, whether it's tears of joy or it's that anger like we saw from Thorson. The people watching at home want to know this is big. This is what everything they work for is happening in that very moment. And to them, it's entertainment, as it should be. But for these guys, it is what they live, eat, breathe, do every single day for those 30 laps. And I think seeing behind that curtain and getting like those angles that we get from Flo and Dirt, and it's just a whole new side of the sport that people didn't see 20 years ago. I think about, like, God, could you imagine if we would have had streaming and content and flow when Steve and Sammy were raced? Like, that rivalry was so cool. It would have been huge. Yeah. Like, that's like regrets, right?
Yeah. Your editing team would have probably had to been really, really good too.
Oh, it'd been so awesome. I've been like, let it rip. Let it rip. Just let them go.
Yeah.
Hell with it.
I was at West Plains, Missouri, Kendra, and I was always really close with Andy Hillenberg. And Andy and I were
Indiana
talking
or Oklahoma?
Oklahoma. Andy, yeah, exactly. But anyway,
that was my childhood crush.
Andy and I are and we still talk all the time. And Andy and I are hanging out at West Plains for the Outlaw show, and a guy asked Sammy and Steve to get a picture together, and he didn't want to be in. He just wanted the two of them to do together. And Andy and I are watching this, and I remember looking at Andy going. Andy looks at me going, "This is the phoniest picture you're ever going to see in your life." Because Andy and Steve were really close. Of course, everybody knew that. And the minute the picture was, and they both smiled, and they walked away. They were going their separate ways, and Steve come right over to Andy, and I was right there, and Andy said, "So was that really hard?" And he says, it wasn't as hard as it looked because he smiled too. He goes, had he not smiled, it would have been really awkward. He goes, so you know what? It was 5 seconds. We made somebody pretty happy, you know. But that's when it made me realize is their rivalry is as intense as it was. There still was a lot of respect for each other.
Oh yeah. When we
So
did the
much
60th
respect.
Nationals, 2021, the 60th Nationals, we brought back as many former champions that would come, and
I remember it was awesome.
thank you. And that was like one of the coolest moments when I look back on my career. But we did a picture of all of them in Victory Lane that night. And Steve and Sammy stood together. Like we didn't place them like that. They just did it.
I
And
know. I
it
remember.
actually was a conversation for us, and the photographers were like, oh.
I remember Bobby Allen was right in there with them too. Bobby was right there with them, and I was thinking, watching that, going, man, wouldn't you love to be, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't know
If
if you
we
remember.
could showcase like the early 90s today, oh, so
Yeah.
cool.
I got to do it when we were at Knoxville a couple of years ago. Obviously, everybody goes to turns 3 and 4 after the races.
Sure.
And, you know, me being buddies with Sheldon, I've got to know Jack pretty well, right? And for one, Jack was like my hero growing up. I was a massive Jack Hodenshield fan.
I
like
took
I had
care of him for the hat,
every Jack Hodenshield shirt you could have when you were a kid, like I had it. And when the Outlaws would come to town, I'd go down there. So, anyways, one night we're out here in 3 and 4, and you know we're just hanging. And Jack's standing next to me, and Sheldon's over here, and I'm not really paying much attention. And I turn back around. And it's Jack, Steve, Tim Schaefer, Sheldon, and I don't know why I'm botching this because it was maybe Terry McCarl was standing there maybe. I don't know. But anyways, I'm like, oh, well, of course, Sides. Sides is a staple. He's automatically there. Yeah. Yeah, you don't really have to add him in. He kind of owns.
No, you're probably at the Sides Bar and Grill.
Oh yeah, we were at
that's why
Sides Bar and
happy.
Grill.
Yeah,
the sidebar.
But then I'm standing there and I'm like, holy shit, you know? I'm like, look at who I'm standing next to right here, and these guys are just laughing and having a beer and carrying on, and I just remember kind of standing there. I'm like, wow. I'm like, this is some cool shit, you know? And mind you, it's also in 3 and 4 where anybody can go, and it's like, people can come do this. Like, you don't even have to be anybody to come out here and see these guys and be a part of this. And man, I mean, truly, that's why I go back now every year. Like, I will not miss it because it's too cool of an event. And don't get me wrong, I am spoiled because I get to go hang out with the Schatz family, and you know, they're next door to Todd Queering, and I enjoy all that. But it's like that, you know, that entire event is what sprint car racing obviously is all about. And the town has just continued to prosper year after year after year, and it just gets bigger, right? It hasn't lost any steam.
It's time for a high limit race at Knoxville.
You what?
It's time for a high limit race at Knoxville.
Hey, say it louder.
Oh,
Keep
I am.
saying it
I'm
and
very
say
good
it
friends
louder.
with Baker and a lot of them.
It's got to, because that's another thing. The support that you've shown Knoxville without even having a high limit race. It's the guys, and I know you need the laps. It's the biggest race of the year, and I get all that. But at the same time, too, the guys are doing it right. I don't see any of the bitching going on, asking for this. But it's time for Knoxville to open those doors. It's time for a high limit Knoxville race.
Kendra says I'm working on this
Because here's the deal. Here we go next week. Next week.
she's trying. Wait, hold
Listen,
on.
I'll help
She's
you.
trying not to.
The
Bust the cap
Knoxville
on
thing is
something.
so personal for me. Like,
Right. Sure it is.
because I worked there for 6 years and those guys were like my family, and you know, I wanted a race there so bad because that's like home to me. And it always will be. Knoxville will always be home to me. So yeah, not having a race at Knoxville is like, I was actually just there this weekend for one of my best friend's daughters got married, and he works at the track, Jim, and I just love all those guys. They're still some of my best friends and family, and you know, we get in that conversation every time I'm with them, and I'm like, Kendra, you gotta let it go. Like, it bothers you so much because it's like it bothers me because it's personal. I love that place so much, and I want what I do now that I love so much to like merge with the other part of me that I love so much. And it's
Right.
just not, it's not in my control. And it, what will be, will be. And if it happens one day, awesome. And if it doesn't, it doesn't.
Right.
Um,
Exactly.
our guys will always be at the Knoxville Nationals. Always.
That's right.
We will never schedule against the Knoxville Nationals. No one would ever schedule against the Knoxville
Right.
Nationals. That event is bigger than our sport. And what you said, Gordy, about standing there and there's Jack Hewitt and Steve Kinzer, the fact that those guys keep coming back year after year after year, they're not racing. They don't have to be there. They still keep coming back because it's Knoxville. That is like that event. And I say event every time for that week. It is sun up till sundown and everything in between. That they just do it right. And if you love the sport and you love sprint car racing, whether you worked in it 50 years ago or you're working in it now, you do not miss the Knoxville Nationals. Everyone says to me, are you coming back in a few weeks? I'm like, why is that a question? Like,
Yeah,
I will never miss the Knoxville Nationals ever.
Yeah.
Is it easier now for you to go back now? You're kind of like, you're not running Knoxville Raceway.
harder?
It's high limit.
Is it harder?
Way harder.
Really?
It is like, it's painful because I want to do the stuff, it's like,
Right.
I want to, even though that was the most exhausting week of the year, like we had a team meeting every morning at 7:00. So
Yeah.
no matter when you went to bed, and we would have fun still, like we'd be out in 3 and 4, we're like,
Yeah.
I'm not missing out on the fun. You still had to be in that team meeting. And there were
Yeah.
times when there'd be like, hey, the team 8:00 now, 8:00, like we're pushing it.
You're
But,
praying
like,
the boss
you-
had fun.
Yeah, like you had to get up and show up because too many people depended on all of those extra things. And those extra things, the off-track things, the events in the community support, like that's what makes the week so fun. And I mean, I think during that week, I would be lucky to get 3 hours of sleep a night. And still at the end of the week, I was like, it's always the best week of the year. It doesn't matter how tired I am. It's the best. So now when I go back, it's like when you're part of the coolest thing ever, and then you're not part of that club anymore. So
Yeah.
it's like I bought, you were behind the scenes and now you're buying a ticket and watching. And you
Yep.
know what's going on behind the scenes, and you know that adrenaline rush, and you know that energy, and you know what's coming next, but you're not part of it anymore. So it's actually hard. And mom and dad every year have to be like, go do things you could. Go to Dingus at 4 PM. Go have fun. You couldn't do that. It's like, it's not the same. It's not the
Right.
same.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I love being there. But yeah, I had way more fun at Nationals when I was actually doing the work. Like it was so fun.
I believe it. Well, and I'm sure though, switching roles obviously into what you're doing now with High Limit. I mean, obviously that's, that fills that void in itself. But I mean, kind of talk about what it's like having. Obviously, you have Kyle and Brad, who are, two anomalies in our sport, who are spearheading this entire deal and put together, the charter style stuff, all the NASCAR weekends that you guys go race on. Like there is so many different things that you guys do now that compared to just a normal touring series, I guess you'd say. Like you guys are doing stuff a little bit different kind of every weekend, really. And talk about how you kind of shape some of that and how that all comes about.
Yeah. I mean, I will say it, and this is not me like kissing up to the boss, right? But Brad Sweet is so smart. And Brad's kind of guarded. Like he's not one of those guys that's hanging out every night, and he's kind of like, there's something going on up there, and he's always thinking. He might not be talking, but he's always thinking. And he's so smart and such a brilliant business mind that I honestly feel like even with my 20 plus years of experience in this sport, I'm learning from Brad every day. Brad challenges me and pushes me to think bigger, think like, I don't want to hear anything that's been done before. Think new. Like I appreciate that so much. It's overwhelming sometimes where I feel like, God, I got to live up to this, right? Like, how can I impress a guy who's thought of everything, but you still want to do that? And I love that he is like, just because it's what we've always done doesn't mean it's what we should keep doing. Like, let's outthink it, and Brad is a sky is the limit kind of guy. And people might think it's ridiculous to say, well, what is NBA doing? Like, what's NFL doing? And Brad's like, what? We should be doing that. They're a professional sport. And if we want to be a professional sport, we've got to do professional sport things. And that was like an aha moment, right? It's like, but we've always done ABC, right? But why? And Brad will challenge you, why? But why?
Yeah.
And if you don't have a really good answer for that, Brad's going to be the first one to say, then we're not doing it. Like, you've got to have the good why. So I like to think that I have a hand in some of the high limit success. I don't feel like there's one thing that could be like, oh, I contributed this, right? Like, I think it's just really this collaborative, Kyle and Brad and Josh Peterman and Mike Hess and everybody just getting in a room together, and everybody has something to bring to the table. We all have different backgrounds in the sport, and we've all seen it from different points of view. And when we can all sit down and just passionately like brain dump, that's when like the good stuff really happens. And I think it was Mike Hess that said this before. And he's so right. Like, how lucky are we that we're just a really passionate group of racers? None of us are like business, like we are like, we all have like this business mind, or we all come to this business ideas, but really we were all just race fans. And we try to approach it of like, what would I have wanted? Like, if I was going to spend $100, what would I want? What would make me entertained? And I love that our group is really just passionate racing people. Everybody. I can't think of one person in our sport or in our group at High Limit that's like, oh, I have a college degree and I'm looking for a job in sports. Everybody is like sprint car racing. And I love that about us. I love that when I talk to them, they're like, hey, I have this idea. Great. Let's try it. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Like, we won't do it again. But let's be the disruptors. Let's try something new. Let's change the sport. That's what we said we were going to do. We're going to change the sport of sprint car racing for the better. We're going to grow the sport. When you put something out there in words out loud, that's a lot more pressure, right? Like, now you actually have to do it. And I'm so glad that we put that out there we said it out loud. And now we got to put our money where our mouth is. And things like being live on FS1 to me is like, we're doing what we said we would. That's what we said we were going to do. And raising purses, we're doing what we said we were going to do. A charter system, we said we were going to make this sport more financially sustainable and give more security to drivers and teams. We're putting our money where our mouth is. And we're so lucky that we have guys like Kyle that are like, yes, like, that is my vision when I started this with Brad. We're doing it. And then we get people like Mark Floriani at Flow, who's like, I'm all in on this. I think when we talk about the status quo and you just get comfortable with it, when all this started, and we did have some people in Flow that were like, well, why this and why that? And one of the questions was, why aren't drivers signing like multi-year contracts? And one of the biggest things about dirt racing is, if a team loses their sponsor, they might not even be here in 2 years. And that was like, what? Like, for people outside of the sport are like, oh, we got to fix that. Like, they need some kind of financial security and stability. Like, it can't be how do they feel any kind of like life security if everything's year by year? But that's what we've always been. So how do we make it a more sustainable and secure sport? And I think we're doing that. And we're doing it now for 40 drivers and teams, not 10 or 12. That I don't even know where we started like this. And my brain is like, oh my God, there's so much. Like, it's just so, everything's just so exciting.
No,
I love it.
Yeah. Well,
I love it.
but it's because this is the passion, right? For one,
Right.
But for two, it's like, that's how does the sport continue to grow? Well, for one, it has to sustain itself inside itself, right? It has to have the teams. It has to have the racers. Like, the entertainment comes from the racers. That's one of the things I know. It's like, that's probably been the biggest bark between a lot of, I would say, the racers over the, all the streaming stuff. It's like, well, we're the one that puts, we put the show on, and like, we want to make sure we're compensated, which we are. Don't get me wrong, that like plenty. And so what you guys are doing is, saying, yes, thank you for what you do. We're going to help you make sure that in 3 years, you're still doing what you love to do, because you're able to give this charter system to them, right? And give other teams options to come in and do that and be a part of that. And it's always cool listening to I feel like the interviews from the drivers, and they talk about how all the teams travel together, right? And they're up and down the road, and you see it right in the work area, guys piling in and helping each other's teams. There's 5 different teams helping one guy out every time the work area happens. And it's part of what is the success, right? Those crew guys, they literally give 365 days pretty much to working on race cars and going up and down the road and traveling long hours and not sleeping, and sleeping in in the trailer going down the road or whatever it may be. And it's not an easy life, right? It's not all sunshine and rainbows and you go up there and you hang out and you stand in victory lane. Like, that is like a 0.05% of what really happens, right? It's like, and that's what people see, and like, we want them to see that. And yeah, that is great, but dude, there are a lot of grueling days that they don't get to see. And that's where, the teams that are able to fund, 3 crew guys and a racer, and maybe a PR person, like, that is a huge deal. And that's the only way that the sport will grow, is if you're able to sustain that part of it, alone. And that's what sponsors and those people want to see, is that, like, oh yeah, if we're sponsoring for X amount of dollars, we're seeing 10 times the return on that money, or 2 times the return on that, whatever it may be. But I don't know. It's really cool to see how the landscape maybe is changing, I guess you'd say.
And the fans are such an important part of that. They support those sponsors. I mean, the sponsors aren't like, hey, I'm going to give you some money and then I don't care. They need to see that return on investment. So we need the fans out there drinking NOS. We need fans buying Kubota tractors and Kubota lawnmowers and then posting the pictures with their Kubotas online. We need that. And the fans have shown up and they've done it. And then the other side of it, like, we have a sponsor with Roto-Rooter, and Roto-Rooter really uses it to bring their employees in. It's like an employee, like appreciation type thing. And they love it. And they're like, we're NASCAR fans and we've never been to a dirt race. And they're like, okay, this is so cool. But it's having partners that believe in the sport, like Roto-Rooter, and saying, we trust you guys to take our staff and show them a good time. And we believe they're all going to leave happy. Because if they leave unhappy, like, it's not even a waste of your money. Like, now you're in the negative. So we are like, we really have to make these people happy. And they leave happy. And that's a testament of the tracks, the drivers, the crew members, who, when we're walking them through the pit area, they're like, hey guys, you want to come over and see the car? Like, we need all of those, cogs working together. And I love what you said about the work area. I have, friends in other forms of motorsports, and we were watching a race on Flow not long ago, and they flew the drone over the work zone when all these teams, and I was like, does that happen in your form of racing? He's like, oh my God, no. If another crew guy came over and touched our car, like, security would be called. Like, that does not happen. And I'm like, I feel like it's almost like you're going to battle with people. So you're kind of like trauma bonded. Like, being on the road is hard.
Yes.
You're away from the people you love. You're away from your family. But these guys are your brothers. Like, you've been through it together. You've stayed at the same shady ass hotel that you talk about years later. And you're like, remember that? Like, everybody's trauma bonded a little bit.
Oh, yes.
And that's why, full circle, going back to, that's why 20 years later, those same crew guys and drivers are hanging out in 3 and 4 at Knoxville having beers together at 3 a.m. because they have a bond that you don't create everywhere else. We're so lucky. And trust me, I'm old now, right? Like, I go to the airport when my flight's at 6 a.m. after a race, and I'm like, what am I doing? Why am I doing? Like, I'm so tired. But then when I get to the track to the next race, I have so much energy because I feed off the energy of everybody there. And it's amazing that you can do this, 80, 90 times a year. And every night you pull into that track, you're just as excited. And for you guys, the drivers, you believe you can win just as much that night as you did the night before, as you did 3 months ago. And it's that adrenaline and energy that you carry with you every single weekend that makes you keep loving this sport. And it's going to let you down at times. It's going to let everybody down sometimes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But you still, you're so in love that you just keep coming back.
Oh, it beats the shit out of you. That's for sure.
Kendra, I'm curious, we talked about Brad a little bit. And here's a guy that's the championship 7 in a row. I mean, how does he stay on top of his game, being the driver that he is, and yet you're talking about all these meetings he's at. He's got Napa sponsors. He's got obligations. He's got as many obligations as anybody. And yet still, when he goes on the racetrack, he's the guy to beat. I mean, I don't know how he does it.
If one thing came off of Brad's plate, I don't know if he'd know what to do. Like, he does the best under pressure. He's great when there's all these balls in the air, right? Like, that's when he thrives. And I'll be honest, he's got an amazing wife, Rachel, and his daughter, Savannah, that are so supportive. I mean, and don't forget, Kyle and Brad also own a racetrack or promote a racetrack on a fairgrounds in California. So they've also got that going on. There's so much. And I don't think you accomplish any of that. And I think Brad would be the first to say it, and Kyle would be the first to say it. You don't accomplish those things without the support system and the people that believe in your dream just as much as you do. And Rachel Sweet is amazing. And that, like, she also has a brain that is always thinking and is really innovative and fun. And they are so good together. So no matter what he's got going on, Rachel's got his back. And the same thing with Caitlin and Kyle. And you see that so much with all the guys on the road. There is a very supportive someone behind the scenes that keeps them going. Because Gordy, there are nights when you probably do want to say, like, I'm done. Like, I can't emotionally, I cannot do this anymore. But there's someone that will remind you of why you're doing it. There's someone that will remind you of how great you are and why you're doing it, and keep pushing you to get back to that feeling of, like, I know why I'm doing this. So,
well, I think the hardest
real quick,
part,
though, my buddy here last week, he had a rough night at Friday, and I go, so you going to Hofstadt? No, I had enough fun.
Yeah,
I had enough fun tonight.
Dude, the fun,
that's what I love about it.
The fun meter can get pegged real quick. I promise you. That's one of the things I think that's so impressive about, like, the racers, right? Obviously, like, I am one, so I see it all, but the national touring guys and the way that you have to handle yourself for one on the road anyways. But when things are going bad, it is truly hard sometimes. Like, you end a night and you've run 10th 5 nights in a row, and you're just like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, do I suck? Are we no good? Like, does my car suck? Is it, you start second guessing everything you do, right? And you beat yourself up about it, and your team works just as hard, and if you don't have that like you just said, if you don't have that support system around you, then, you know, all of that goes to the wayside. And I know, like, as racers, I know we can all say it, because we are the most miserable human beings you want to be around when things go bad. I'm 100% sure of it. Every one of them, the guys at the very top, or you know, whoever it may be, it's just how we are. It's the nature we are, the competitiveness, and it's pretty cool though, because you see how, you know, you look at a guy like Reitzel and see the resurgence he had in his career, and you watch Brad continue to do what he does, and you see Tyler Courtney becoming this superstar that he's going to be, you know, over how many years coming forward. But like you said, if you don't have that support around you, like Brad and Kyle have, and have obviously have had illustrious careers already, they would be the first to tell you, without it, they would not be who they are or how they are in any, you know, shape or form. And it's cool to get to realize that about how these guys carry themselves, the family people that they are, how they treat their crew members, how they, you know, their car owners, all of that stuff. You get to realize a lot of that, and you know, that I think it's highlighted well, you know, on Flow and all those different places, and it's really, really cool to see.
And I think it's so important, and I have to do this myself sometimes. You have to have something in your life that is not racing, because if it is everything and you have those bad times, it's going to be really bad. You've got to have something. And that's when you see drivers with their kids. Like, you know how it is now. You have your daughter, and when you see her, it's like, I don't even care what just happened. Like, you have to have that something that's away from the racetrack. And, you know, Tyler Courtney's a great example. I mean, so good last year, won all these races, looked like he is championship contender. And this year he just won his first race of the year with us last weekend. Yeah. You know, it took him getting through half the season to get that first win. And you could be a miserable, like, that could eat at you so bad. And instead that team just kept ticking at it, you know? And I think one of the great things about racing is there's so many opportunities to have that one big night that changes everything. You could not win a race all year, worst year of your career, and you win the Knoxville Nationals, best year of your career. The greatest year ever. That was my favorite year. So like, you just, every night there's a new opportunity. And we're really like, I don't think many sports can say that. Like, NFL has what, 12 games a year?
Yeah.
So like, you run out of chances. And I feel like NFL, everything is still working just towards the Super Bowl. We have like 10 Super Bowls in a year. That one night can change everything.
Well, and don't get me wrong, and it's like, it doesn't even have to be the 100,000 to win night, right? Like, a guy can make a career move and slide somebody for a prelim night win or something, and people will never forget it, right? And it'll go down in the memory bank for somebody. And don't get me wrong, but a guy can race off of that. Like, people don't forget those things. You know, I always think back, I was thinking about this earlier, you guys going to, you know, doing FS1 Live. I think back to the first truck race they had on dirt at Eldora, right? The moment I remember is Norm Benning, right? Like, that made Norm's career, right? Like, that was as much as, for anything, how many times did they advertise Norm Benning for the next 3-4 years? They did that, right? Like, yes, every year they went there. Yes, right. And so it's like, that shit can happen so fast, and it takes one night for it all to change. And that, I mean, obviously that's why all the teams and everybody keep going up and down the road the way they do, because it does just take one night to change the trajectory of your career. I mean, truly, it could happen all so fast, and you wouldn't, you know, at the moment you don't even realize it. But then you get to look back and go, wow, that one night that, you know, we won the high limit race was everything that changed what we were doing in our lives. I mean, you look at Reitzel and everything that's happened this year, and him going and winning a 6-figure payday, like that, clearly that changes what you're doing as a team.
Leading the
and
points.
Yeah, right. And so it's like, you're leading
the points.
yeah, now, obviously his car owner already is excited, but you hit a couple of those happen. Now you're leading points. Like,
and then
he's
they
not
got a
going
big
anywhere.
sponsor. Like earlier in the year, they started the season, and then 10 races in or 5 races in, they get a big sponsor for the rest of the year.
Yep.
They're at Vegas, and suddenly Travis Pastrana's in their car.
Yeah.
It's all these little pieces working together that make those moments like the year Aaron Reitzel's having, those pieces all clicking. And some of that is attitude. This is the happiest, nicest Aaron Reitzel I've ever seen. Is it a coincidence that he's also having a career banner year? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right.
But
Maybe,
it's fun to see.
yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a joy, obviously, for us to sit back and watch it. This is, for one, it's why we started the Dirt Parlor, is truly about continuing to grow the sport and having awesome conversations like this, right? I mean, you've been doing this a long time, and you have, so much experience with all of this stuff, and you've seen so many different. No, you're the one that got on here and said you worked in NASCAR for like 16 years. So yeah. So, but it's cool because, don't get me wrong, but there's probably not a lot of people that know your story, right? And how much of a role you play inside High Limit, and the background that you have, right? That maybe they don't even know that your dad raced, but maybe now they, like there's a lot of things that we are able to do on our show, which is why, we're doing our show because we enjoy watching all of sprint car racing, all of late model racing, all of dirt racing in general. And it's, it's a joy for us to get to talk about things like this that maybe a lot of people don't get to see or hear about, or to keep that personal side for everybody at home that does love this sport and has passion for it. And for one, I want to thank you for coming on here and hanging out with us for a little bit.
Yep. Letting us ask some
you guys
questions.
are doing you're so personable. So this is the Drive to Survive thing, right? Like you're pulling the personality.
Well, that's what we wanted, know.
And you're
that's
doing
exactly
it
what
by
we
just
wanted.
being you. You guys are race fans. You're not asking like the gotcha grilling questions. No one wants that. Like what?
We're going to get into that next.
Oh yeah, except that Knoxville question, darn it. But other than that, no, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
No. The one thing I am curious though, we always ask the drivers when they're on what they like and and you're no different. And we got to ask, what's on your playlist?
Oh God. So this is where like my drivers roll their eyes at me, right?
Yeah. Why hasn't Kendra Jacobs
I'm just saying
high roller playlist?
Because of this, because I'm a Swiftie. So we
there
are
we
not
go.
listening to 12 Taylor Swift songs. I love Taylor Swift, but then I shake it up. Like we were hanging banners one day and I was playing like nothing but Zach Bryan. So like I switch it up a lot. When I'm going, it's funny when I'm going to the track, it's usually like the upbeat Taylor Swift. I have some like key songs every day that just kind of like get me mellowed out instead of getting worked up.
Okay.
And then like on the way home, I tend to listen to like more introspective stuff. So like Zach Bryan, and then I'll go to like old school stuff like the Tragically Hip, or pull some stuff from like my high school years, or what was my dad listening to when I was on the road with him. So anytime like Bob Seger comes on, it's like every memory. Did you say Elvis?
I said the Beatles.
The Beatles. Oh no, he's not that old. Well, maybe.
I said Elvis.
I was like, we were raised on Bob Seger, Bruce Springsteen, and Mellencamp. So when I hear like any of those three, like I'll turn that on. Yeah, that's probably like, I'm really, really eclectic.
All right. Well, I know what I'm putting on the jukebox at Dingus at 4 p.m. on Thursday of the Nationals.
So you got
you're gonna hear Taylor Swift and be like, "Where's she at?"
Yeah, but she's in here somewhere.
Well, you'll have to get her away from Mindy. You'll have to separate her from Mindy at some time. And
oh yeah, no, that never happens at Knoxville.
Greg Stevens was like, he took me up. I was in the Silver Bullet all the time going. He took me to races everywhere. Greg was like my big brother. I loved him. I think about him every day.
Yeah,
You know,
great guy, and he gave me one of my absolute lifelong best friends.
yes.
Love that.
And one of the reasons we talk about a lot of the stories that we're able to talk about on the Dirt Parlor is because of Greg.
Yeah.
I was literally thinking when we said, too bad the 90s aren't like featured today. And I was thinking, have you guys ever seen that show? And this ages me a little bit. There's a show it's called Mystery Science Theater. And it has like these 3 characters, and they like commentate like some really bad movie they're watching in a movie theater. And it's really funny.
Okay.
But I'm like, what if, see, I'm giving away my ideas, but what if we took old 90s races and did like a camera on the people watching the race and a camera on the race, but the people watching were like today's drivers, and they're watching that race for the first time, and it's them commentating. Like they're seeing that move for the first time.
Really good. Yeah.
It would be so fun.
We're gonna have to make it happen.
So
Yeah, you guys can do it.
We're gonna try. You got a favorite food?
Oh, chili cheese fries.
See?
I'm a sucker for chili cheese fries.
Right.
I was not expecting
Me
that.
neither.
Yeah, and like I love oysters, which is crazy, right?
Okay.
So like oysters, chili cheese fries, not together. That'd be disgusting. But yeah, probably those 2.
Okay. Yeah. Can't beat that.
And besides your dad, I gotta know this. Besides your dad, naturally, being your favorite driver, who else who'd you when you went to the racetrack? Who were some of the drivers you like watching?
Oh, well, I was like teenage crush on Andy Hillenberg. Like that was my
I'm gonna tell him that.
he knows. Trust me, he knows. And Deanne, like they all know. Yeah, I was like that 15, 16-year-old girl that'd be like, oh, he'd come over to the motorhome, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, it's Andy Hillenberg. I love Andy Hillenberg. I'm a big Kyle Larson fan. Like everybody knows it, and they make fun of me for it. Yes, I'm like a big Kyle Larson fan. And then like F1, love Carlos Sainz. He's my guy. This year has been very painful. I'm still angry, but I love Carlos. And then like IndyCar, like I think Pato, like that's probably who I like. And because like when he lost Indy for the 2nd year in a row, his interview was so good. Like you could tell he was like devastated, but he was so gracious, and it was an amazing interview. I mean, you know what it's like, Gordy, when you just lost like your dream and they stick a microphone in your face.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's the worst. It is the absolute worst.
Because you have to be.
There's so much you want to say.
You got to be respectable and cordial and all those things. In your mind, you're just like, you either want to get that microphone out of your face or you just want to fly off a handle.
Yeah.
Yeah, he won me over with that. So like people do watch that. Like it is impactful. Yeah, and now my nephew. I like watching my nephew learn the sport.
That's awesome.
Well, we're going to shut it down, and you're going to a great track this weekend at Florence Speedway, by the way.
I mean,
yeah, like first time, right? So this is
it's so
hopefully
cool.
Those late model fans embrace sprint cars.
They'll be out there. They'll be in droves.
that place, if it races like the late models race on it, it could be a great.
You need to go check out the Dirt Late Model Hall of Fame.
Yeah, it's right there, right? Like it's at the track.
It's not like Knoxville's Hall.
No, it's a completely different style. It's like but it's a way different deal. Yeah, it's not like an upscale style deal, but it's really cool because they just all the pictures of all the drivers over the years during their ceremonies, and it's pretty neat. I think it's almost better because it's more like, I don't want to say run down, but like in a way it's not.
It's a Jeff Purvis car hanging from the ceiling, man.
Well, it's not like it's not it's not Knoxville's Sprint Car Hall of Fame that's all dressed up. Like it's a late model Hall of Fame. It's what I mean?
If I go, I want to go with a personally guided tour by Michael Rigsby.
Oh, there you go.
That's the only way I'm going to the late model Hall of Fame. I want Michael Rigsby to take me on a guided tour. It'll probably be 4 days long.
Oh, it
It'll
takes
be worth it.
Yes. Yeah. He'll tell you 100 stories, and each picture will have one for it.
Well,
It'll be good. Like that's what I need. Like I wouldn't know anything about late model racing if it wasn't for Flo. And I was raised in dirt racing, but I was at sprint car tracks. So I lean on Rigsby to tell me some things, and Swab still. I'll
Oh, yeah.
get up Swab and be like, hey, who's going to win this race at Eldora? He's like,
Yep.
dude,
Great.
JD wins at Eldora. Like if you have to put
Yeah,
like,
that's
it's
it.
JD, like that's,
Yeah.
come on. So yeah, I lean on those guys. Like you find the people in the sport that know their stuff. And I'm blessed to call those guys friends. And they've really opened my eyes to late model racing.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a
Well, that's
sprint car
good.
snob. I've been told my whole life.
Right. Well, Kendra, we want to thank you so much for coming on here and spending some time with us. And we can't wait to see, obviously, the rest of the high limit season and whatever big announcements you come with next. I'm sure you got more up your sleeve that we won't ask about today, but maybe some other time.
And I'll see you next week.
Yeah.
You what?
I'll look for you. I will look for you next week at Eldora.
Yes, I will be there. Come find us. We'll be in the infield, a little nervous, but really excited.
All right.
awesome.
Thank you again for coming on with us.
Thanks,
Thank you.
guys.
Thank
See
you.
ya.